When you think of Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, you probably think about the murder, right? The student, the axe, the old pawnbroker. But here's the thing, we're not going to focus on the crime. We're going to dive into what happens after, the real story, which is this incredible psychological and spiritual journey that starts the second the crime is over.
So, let's get it out of the way. The pawnbroker is dead, and tragically, so is her sister, who just happened to be there. Our killer, a broke ex-student named Raskolnikov, gets away completely clean. No one saw him, there's no evidence, he's totally free. Or, so he thinks.
Because almost immediately, something goes terribly wrong. This act, this crime that was supposed to prove he was a superior being, has absolutely shattered him. He's sick, he can't eat, he's tormented, he can't sleep. His mind and his body are in a total freefall.
You know, he imagined he'd feel like Napoleon, some kind of great man standing above morality. Instead, he just feels like a ghost, wandering the streets of St. Petersburg. He keeps getting drawn back, almost magnetically, to the scene of the crime. The prison he's in isn't made of stone walls. It's the one inside his own head.
And right there, that's the core of the problem. This grand theory he had, the idea that gave him permission to kill, has become the very thing that's burying him alive.
So, what is this theory? Well, it comes from an article he wrote back in university. And it basically says that some people, the extraordinary ones, have the right to step over obstacles. And yeah, that includes other human beings, if it's for some kind of higher purpose. It's this intellectual idea, this pride, that planted the seed for everything that followed.
Okay, so his mind is already his own worst enemy. But now he's about to face his first real opponent. And it's not a fist fight, it's a battle of wits with the detective, Porfiry Petrovich. This is the Moth and the Flame.
Now, what's so amazing about Porfiry is how he operates. He has nothing to go on, no physical evidence, no witnesses. So he throws the normal police playbook out the window. Instead, he just talks to Raskolnikov. He uses these casual, friendly little chats as a weapon, all powered by this incredible insight into how a criminal's mind works.
And he even explains his whole strategy, right to Raskolnikov's face. He uses this incredible metaphor. He says a guilty man is like a moth circling a candle. He just can't stay away. That guilt, that obsession, it keeps pulling him back closer and closer to the crime, until eventually he flies right into the flame and gives himself away. See what he's doing? Porfiry isn't trying to find clues. He's pretty sure he's got his man. He's just turning up the heat, psychologically. He's applying pressure, and basically just waiting, asking him, how long can you take it? How long can you stand the weight of what you did before you just break? Now, if the pressure from Porfiry wasn't enough, Dostoevsky throws two more characters at Raskolnikov. And this time, he's forced to look at his own theory, but he's seeing it reflected back at him in two very ugly, very twisted mirrors. The first mirror is this guy, Luzhin, and his philosophy is basically Raskolnikov's but stripped of all the romance and grandeur. It's not about being Napoleon, it's just about rational self-interest. Look out for number one, help yourself first. It's just petty, selfish greed. And Raskolnikov absolutely despises him, because he's seeing a pathetic, cheap version of himself. The second mirror, though, is much, much darker. This is Svidrigailov. He is a man who has truly stepped over. He's done terrible things and feels absolutely no guilt, no remorse, nothing. He has the exact freedom Raskolnikov thought he wanted. And what is it? It's a terrifying emptiness, a soulless wasteland of pure boredom, where the only way out is to kill yourself. So, we've had the detective and the twisted mirrors. Now comes the third and final confrontation. This isn't with another intellect or a dark reflection. It's a confrontation with the idea of grace itself, and it comes in the form of a young woman named Sonya. Now, on paper, according to Raskolnikov's whole worldview, Sonya should be worthless. She's a prostitute, driven to it by poverty. She's one of the lice, as he would say, that an extraordinary man like him should be able to crush without a second thought. But when he actually meets her, he finds something that completely shatters his theory. He sees that even though she has suffered more than he could ever imagine, she's not broken. Her soul is intact. He's stunned. He demands to know how it's possible. And she doesn't give him an argument. Instead, she opens a Bible and reads him a story, the story of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead.
And this is the moment the entire book pivots. The story of Lazarus is a direct challenge. Raskolnikov is Lazarus. He's the one who's dead, buried in the tomb of his own pride. The question is no longer about power or being an extraordinary man. The question is now about faith. Can the dead live again?
And that question is what leads us to the novel's final act, which, as we're about to see, isn't really an ending at all. It's the very painful start of something brand new. So what's the way out of this self-made hell? Well, it's not a sudden flash of light. It's a path, a series of steps that are simple to say, but almost impossibly hard to do. He has to go to the police. He has to confess everything. He has to accept his punishment in Siberia. And then, the hardest step of all, he has to learn to love.
Now, for a long time, in that Siberian prison camp, he's still proud, he's still unrepentant. But the novel's epilogue gives us this one beautiful image. Sonya followed him all the way there. And one day, seeing her, something in him finally breaks. In that shared moment of suffering and unconditional love, the first light of a new dawn finally starts to glow.
And that's exactly why Dostoevsky ends the book right there. He doesn't show us the rest of their lives. That's not the point. The point is that the punishment, the whole story we just read, that was the end of his old life. The resurrection, that moment of change, that's the beginning of a totally new story that hasn't even been written yet.
So, Raskolnikov started this whole journey by asking if he was an extraordinary man with the right to kill. But the novel leaves us with a much, much deeper question. It completely reframes the entire story. It suggests that the real challenge of being human isn't about power or what you have the right to do. It's about that slow, difficult, and ultimately life-saving journey of learning how to love.